The Ole Miss Rebels are on commit watch, and this could be a big one.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm Brian Smith, in for Stephen Willis. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in to check us out. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else. And thank you once again to Stephen Willis for allowing me to sit in while he is out. I'm having a blast talking Rebels football. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console is required. Head over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. The Ole Miss Rebels are reportedly the team to watch for AJ Haulcy. Now, in case you don't know who that is, he was a safety this past season and the year before at Houston. He started his career at New Mexico. He has started every game in his college career, and he is a flat-out playmaker. He had over 70 tackles last year, 5 picks, and a defensive grade in the coverage category of over 80. Playmaker. If you add him to what they already have assembled in the secondary through the transfer portal and through high school, Ole Miss is now, as I look at it, and I called Steven today and spoke to him for a little bit. He thinks so too. You got a chance to make a run in the college football playoff. I don't know if Halsey's going to end up going to Ole Miss, but this is from On3, and they don't normally just post stuff like that for fun. I'll leave it at that. That's a really good sign for Ole Miss. Now, competition is stiff. Texas and a whole bunch of other schools are involved. And again, AJ Haulcy was safety at Houston last year. But we'll see. If Ole Miss wants to run with the big dogs, you have to go after guys like this. And first off, good on Ole Miss for trying to get this player. And second off, finalizing a deal, if it gets done, extra kudos. Again, it's not easy because this young man could pretty much pick up the phone and go wherever he wants. At the safety position in the portal, he would be more or less a 5-star. Production at the P4 level, always in command because he's always on the field. Guys that are durable, you know, the saying that I talk about all the time, your best ability is your availability. AJ Haulcy is that guy. So if the Rebels get this done, they could be one of, if not the favorite, to win the SEC because I've said this 100 times, and I know it's not going to do anything besides fall on deaf ears around national media. Austin Simmons is going to be that guy this year. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I just don't think so. I really like the chances for that. We'll talk more about Simmons later in the show, but right now, AJ Haulcy and shoring up the defense is what the Rebels are trying to do. If it ends up being somebody else that pops first, it wouldn't surprise me because, as a note, the portal ended on Friday to get in it. In case you're wondering, you do not have to sign then. It is random. So Stephen and I might have a show in a month and a half. Somebody commits to Ole Miss. It's possible. The portal is weird. Just throwing that out there. Now, a little recruiting news. Elite 11 was held today in Nashville, Tennessee. Ole Miss quarterback commitment Reese Wise did pretty darn well. And more importantly, Tom Loy of 24/7 Sports said that Reese Wise is very happy with Ole Miss, and the only visits that he plans on taking moving forward would be to Oxford. So Ole Miss is in a good spot there with their future quarterback. If there's one thing Lane Kiffin does is keep the assembly line rolling at the quarterback position. A couple other notes from the portal. Daniel Demery, linebacker. He was at Ole Miss for a couple years, played some special teams this last year, but didn't really get much chance. He has hit the portal. And Bernard Gooden, a pretty talented defensive lineman that has decided to go to LSU instead of Ole Miss. He was at USF last year. That's a good player, good pickup for LSU. Just thought I would mention that. Now, I want to talk a little NFL draft, and I want to talk about a whole bunch of players in regards to how this is building. And what I mean by that is I'm going to talk about the players, but how does this build for Ole Miss? I talk to recruits all the time. It's what I do for a living. I talk to guys that are involved with the portal. I talk to guys that are NIL agents. There are 2 or 3 things that come up constantly with players. Now, fans look at it completely different. Am I going to be developed to get to the NFL? Am I going to make money while I'm in college? And what is it like? Is the environment something I'm comfortable with? Comfort has always been the word with recruiting or the portal. That really won't change. But the NIL space and the development to get you to the NFL are everything. Well, the Rebels just killed it. They had 12, 13 guys, something like that, that had go into the draft. They got a few guys that have signed free agents. We'll go through that list. But this is something that you can tangibly sell now. When somebody walks into Kiffin's office, recruit, transfer portal player, doesn't matter. They're going to say, well, look at our draft. Some of these are homegrown, some are portal, but that's pretty much every team. There's only about 5 to 8 teams that really don't use the portal much. This is going to benefit Ole Miss quite a bit. So here is the draft and how the players went for the Rebels. Round 1, Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Arizona Cardinals with pick 16. Continuing on in round 1, pick number 25, quarterback Jackson Dart goes to the New York Giants. Good luck. The Giants need all the help they can get, but I don't know if Jackson Dart will be enough there. Round 2, pick number 55, Trey Harris goes to the LA Chargers. I love that pick. That'll be very interesting because like him, love him, hate him, Jim Harbaugh understands play action passing and throwing the ball down the field. They're going to run the football, but with Trey Harris, he's going to get some chances down the field. Staying in round 2, Trey Amos, corner, going to the Washington Commanders. Round 3, pick number 77, Princely Umanellan is going to Carolina, defensive end. And round 4, pick 138, Jordan Watkins, wide receivers, going to the Niners. Round 5, 172nd pick of the NFL draft, Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker, goes to the LA Rams. And round 6, 180th pick, J.J. Pegues, defensive tackle, Las Vegas Raiders. So Tom Brady must have liked him because he's going out there. There might be more, but these are as of Sunday night that I saw. Jared Ivey going to Seattle. Juice Wells going to the New York Giants. Caden Priestcorn, Detroit Lions. Chris Paul Jr., L.A. Rams. I'm sure there's probably somebody I missed, but it's a pretty good list overall. As I noted, this is just the beginning for what's going on with this organization because the football program at Ole Miss, they've taken a lot of steps since Lane came into the fold, but I didn't really know that they were going to be able to take this much of a step up in the draft. I didn't realize they had that many guys getting drafted this year. So even somebody like me that follows it closely, it just puts it on platform. Again, recruits and portal players moving forward for Ole Miss. The draft this past Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I know some of you can care no less once the players leave. It matters a lot. It is very important. Here's a stat for you just to put in perspective. Alabama's obviously done unbelievable things. Part of the time while Kiffin was there. Somebody posted, and I assume this is true, but I don't know, that Alabama had 21 first-round picks since 2019. Auburn's had 20 in their history. There was a guy trolling Auburn. Those kind of things can be used against any school. So if you've got some recent history to at least compete with Bama or LSU or whatever it is, it's very helpful. You need to take a step up because kids look at that, man. They really, really do. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the schedule this next year for Ole Miss and the SEC by way of their quarterbacks. This is a little extra that I kind of added in at the end. This is fun. Quarterback drives the bus, whether you like it or whether you don't. And the list is pretty unique this next season because not only are they playing several proven quarterbacks, they're running up against a lot of guys that can run, that are big, that are mobile, and they can run a lot of different types of offenses. But it just depends on what you need for that day, really. Guys that can run RPO, could throw from the pocket, and could just be multiple in general. Ole Miss defense is going to go up against a pretty big challenge. That is next here on Locked On Ole Miss. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting very easy, so whether you're into picking a game, final score, traditional over-unders, whatever it may be, or you could dive into the player props. I'm a basketball guy, and growing up, I was a big three-point shooter. That's about all I could do well. So that's something that I look at. How many threes will a guy hit? Or maybe, because I think they're going to be hot behind the line, how many points over under for that player? You could do assists, rebounds, whatever you want. Plus, when the game tips off, if you didn't get your bet in, there is live betting options with FanDuel. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Who are the quarterbacks that the Ole Miss Rebels will face during SEC competition? There's a pretty good set list here. A lot of guys coming back, a lot of guys with experience, some big guys that can run, though. That's the main thing. I'm going to give some sizes, going to talk a little bit about their running ability in addition to what I think of them as a passer. Just kind of have some fun with this, but it is quite the slate. The easiest might be the first game, or is it? This is the hardest one to figure out. Kentucky has Zach Calzada. He's been at Auburn. He's been at A&M, etc. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Big-bodied kid, 6'3", 225, but he just hasn't been that successful. Now, Cutter Boley is the young guy. He enrolled early. Last year, played a little bit, 26 of 53, 49%, 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But by the time this game rolls around on September 6th, do I think he's going to be the starter? Probably not, but I bet he plays. He has the way higher ceiling. Ole Miss is fortunate to play Kentucky early because I think if that game is November 6th or whatever, Boley, who's probably the more talented guy, is going to be in the starting lineup. That's my projection. Kentucky, they haven't had good quarterback play, and I don't even remember when. But Boley has the kind of athleticism and arm strength that he could be an NFL player one day. It's just that he should be just now graduating high school. So that's a lot to ask for him to start an SEC game against Ole Miss next year. We'll see, but that's the weirdest one because I don't have any faith in Zach Calzada. No offense to him. He just hasn't done much for me. September 13th, I know who the quarterback's going to be. That's Taylon Green, Arkansas. That game, 6'6", 225 pounds coming around the corner. I've seen him play live. He can scoot. That is a long-legged dude, but he is not afraid of contact. And if you do not commit enough men to the line of scrimmage, Taylon Green will nickel and dime you to death. Short passes too, but with runs. Quarterback draw, quarterback keeper, improvision. He is annoying. You think you got him dead to rights, you better wrap up in the backfield. Taylon Green will take off. Last year, 230 of 381, 60.4%, 3,154 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but also 602 and 8 on the ground. He's going to improve the touchdown mark just due to the reps, being in the system, and he's got Petrino coaching him. I mean, the guy's not exactly the person I'd want to hang out with, but he can absolutely coach quarterbacks. That's not in discussion. I would imagine that Taylon Green is going to be one of the best players in the SEC this year, but he ain't going to get any pub because he plays for the Razorbacks. Just true. Doesn't make it any easier to go up against him. He's very talented. LSU, obviously, they have a lot of talent. Running back, tight end, etc. Garrett Nussmeier returns. 4,052 yards, 29 touchdowns, but 12 picks. We'll talk about that in a second. 337 of 525. He's not the biggest guy. He's one of the smaller quarterbacks on the list at 6'2", 200, 205, something like that. The gunslinger part here got him in trouble against Ole Miss last year. Ole Miss let him off the hook. They should have won that game. We all know it. Can they find a way this year? Can they find a way to get him on the ground a little more? Maybe not even give him a chance to throw some of those balls down the field because he's a good deep ball thrower. Takes a lot of chances, but we'll see. Ole Miss's D-line won't be as good, but they still got Perkins. They still have some other good guys up front. Cam Franklin, etc. I think they're going to be able to get pressure with 4 a lot, if they can. Remember now, LSU lost some good offensive linemen, including Will Campbell, the number 4 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. They have to get to him because Garrett's going to He's going to swing it. They got some receivers coming back. They got some guys that have come up the ranks that are probably not known to you, but trust me, they got plenty of talent. They're going to throw it around. That will be a very interesting matchup. The game that I picked already openly multiple times that Ole Miss is going to get the upset at Georgia, the 18th of October. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons, if not the primary, I don't trust Gunnar Stockton. Good kid. I remember him from 7-on-7. Salt of the earth. Great guy. But he barely played last year, 45 of 64, 70.3%, 440 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 2 things about him. Number one, doesn't have a lot of experience, obviously. And when he did play, like the Notre Dame game, a team that has NFL talent up in their front 7, he didn't have good pocket awareness. And it cost him. He got obliterated on that fumble that gave Notre Dame a chance to score late in the second quarter, and it flipped the game. That game against Georgia is the 18th of October. By then, you would think he'd start to grow some of that, or maybe not. Maybe not. He's a redshirt junior, I believe, this year, but whatever the case, Gunnar Stockton's a good player, but he's mobile enough to extend plays. I don't think he'll run a lot. He runs pretty good in a line. I don't think he's going to zigzag through your defense. I just don't think they'll be dynamic enough on offense because while he's got an arm, no doubt, they got some pretty good transfer receivers. I need to see consistency when he's under duress. Ole Miss isn't going to have the 52 sacks they had last season, but they're going to generate pressure. And I think Stockton's going to make some critical errors. Prove me wrong. The game that is really wild, and I think that probably is going under the radar for Ole Miss fans because it's the week after. This is a terrible time. This is the game that I worry the most about from the SEC schedule because timing is everything. At Oklahoma the week after Georgia. Terrible timing for that game. You're going to be beat up, and then you got to go to Oklahoma. That's not the easiest. Their defense will be really good, and they got John Mateer to come. That is a dude. He transferred in from Washington State last year. He was 224, 347, 64.6%, 3,139 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 picks, and 826 yards on the ground and 15 touchdowns. He's a tank. 215 pounds, no fear. Pretty shifty. He's got good speed. He is the much better version of Gunnar Stockton. Point blank. He's a kid that's from the Dallas area, so it's not surprising him transferring back to OU. Really good player. That is a very dangerous game for the Ole Miss Rebels. November 1st, speaking of dangerous games, because another guy that is a tank, Lenoris Sellers, 6'3", 240. Definitely got size. 196 at 299 last year, 65.6%, 2,534 yards, 18 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Now the guy that can run, 674 yards and 7 scores on the ground. Sellers didn't look real good at the beginning of last year. Then he kept getting better and better. They got some talent at receiver. They got a lot of speed. That's a wild game. I wouldn't want to bet on it one way or the other, but I do believe that's in Oxford, so that's helpful. But you can't allow him to have the ball last. You need to be up by more than 8 points if they get the ball last. I would not want that. He's an experienced player now. Speaking of similar circumstance, another 6'3", 240, DJ Lagway. 2 weeks later after they play South Carolina, here come the Gators. Last year he was inconsistent, but he's one of the best deep ball throwers in the country. Excuse me. And this is year 2. He's going to be better. Just osmosis, being around the same guys over and over again, same play calls. DJ Lagway will start to figure it out. He's pretty mobile, but he's also a guy who gets banged up. I imagine that Billy Napier and his staff would prefer DJ just threw it away and would to play another down, but we'll see. Last year, he was 115 to 192, 59.9%, 1,915 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 9 picks. Struggled more early on as he got into the later stages of the year. He was pretty good. And finally, this could be a couple of different guys, but I'm assuming Blake Shapen's going to start. I haven't really looked into Mississippi State. He was pretty solid last year when he played. 74 of 108 for 68.5%, 974 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. So that's a pretty good ratio. Do I think Blake Shapen is going to just murder you? Not necessarily. I don't think Mississippi State has enough players around them to make it happen. But at the same time, It's a rivalry game. It's at the end of the year. He'll have plenty of reps by then. They just picked up, ironically, good for Mississippi State, I suppose. They just got an offensive tackle from Virginia, experienced player that's massive. So they've got another blocker up front they can use. He'll probably start, I would imagine. And it's Ole Miss. They're going to save some things for Ole Miss. I think we all kind of know that. It's a rivalry game, and the Egg Bowl always has a few surprises in its own way. When we come back, I've got 7 questions for Ole Miss fans. These are fun. They're a little bit of projection based on stats. And then at the end, we're going to talk about the Mississippi State game once again to finish off the show. That is next here on Locked On Ole Miss. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with GameTime, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket buying. GameTime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off draws closer, and their last-minute ticket deals can save you up to 60% off. Here's an example of why GameTime's a great opportunity. It's not just the NBA. It could be you and your buddies going to a basketball game, sure, but what about going to the theater, comedy show? Maybe you want to go see soccer, basketball, baseball, football. It doesn't matter. Last-minute deals, up to 60% off. And this is a cool feature. Have you ever been somewhere and you see the price tag and go to the register and that's not the price? All in inclusive pricing with the GameTime app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It is question time for Ole Miss fans. Please comment on YouTube. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you have a question that you want me to ask, I'll be checking through the comments, see what I can come up with. These are fun. I do these all the time on Locked On Seminoles, and occasionally I do it on Locked On the Portal. So here we go. Last year, Ole Miss, 38.6 points per game in 2024. I don't think they'll be quite that explosive. They could be, but you lost Trey. You lost a returning quarterback. That's a lot to ask. So let me put the over-under at 35. Will the Rebs go above or below 35 points per game in 2025? For me, I'm going to go slightly below. I'm going to say 34 and a half, pretty close. But I think they'll also sit on the ball a little bit more. Late in the game, they've got Diggs and they got some other running backs. And they've got a quarterback who's mobile, but they don't know the ascension of their quarterback situation quite the same like they did last year. I think they're going to be happy to run out the clock in the second half if they get big leads. That doesn't mean you won't pop a run or a screen or whatever. I mean, a tight end drag might score. You never know. But the point is still the same. They're going to be a little bit different this year, especially early on. I think Ole Miss goes under the 35. Number 2. Last season, Ole Miss's wide receiver room was ridiculous, obviously. 3 receivers went over 800 yards. I don't know if that'll happen again either. That's a lot. Will at least 2 Ole Miss receivers get 800 or more yards in receiving in 2025? Number 3. Logan Diggs. He's been banged up a lot. He's been good when he played at Notre Dame, when he played at LSU, etc. But will he be able to stay healthy? That's the first question you really got to ask. But is it going to be Logan Diggs or running back by committee? And I'm not going to try to guess the depth chart and all that. But do you think Kiffin will really try to rotate guys, or he ride Logan Diggs? It's an interesting question, and I don't think there's one answer. And I think this might go in spurts, but I would say committee is more likely just because Diggs is just not a guy that seems to stay healthy. We'll see. Number 4. 9 opponents last year, this is a great stat, were held under 100 yards rushing by the Ole Miss defense. 9. Do I think that's going to happen this year? No, I do not. That is a lot. I'm going to put the over-under at 6. That's 3 less, and that's still a lot. But I don't think people realize just how many good players they've got up front. They've got some big guys. Xavier, they got Cam, got a whole bunch of dudes. Are they going to be able to hold 9, though? Probably not. So I'm going to go with 6. I would say 6 is right at where I would put it. Take that for what it's worth. But it's going to be a challenge to come up with 9. That defensive front for the Ole Miss Rebels in 2024 was one for the ages. Number 5, speaking of defensive line and what they could do in the front 7, last season the Rebels had 52 sacks. They're not going to get 52. I get it. They're going to be a different kind of team this year. They're still going to get a lot of pressure. Perkins might lead the league in sacks. Wouldn't shock me. But 52, I don't see. Over under on 40. How many do the Rebels get? Do they get 40 or more sacks in 2025? Number 6. They had 120 tackles for loss last year. That's absurd. Will the Rebels get over 100 this year? That's a more realistic goal in most seasons, but still not an easy task to get over the hump. 100 tackles or more, or are you going under for Ole Miss in 2025? And finally, number 7, the one I promised about Mississippi State. Will Ole Miss beat Mississippi State, but not just by a point, but by double digits? Yay or nay? 10 points or more, Ole Miss wins in Starkville. That's a fun one to talk about. I think that Mississippi State will be a lot better than they were last year. I don't think they're beating Ole Miss, but that game will probably be 7-point game going into the fourth quarter, is my guess. 2 points. Mississippi State doesn't have the same depth as Ole Miss. I think that's pretty obvious. And number 2, while neither team has a blatantly experienced quarterback, Blake Shapen's a pretty good player. But do they have the horses? Like, do they have a Caden Lee and different guys coming back in the system that they're really comfortable with, that Shapen's really comfortable with? And do they have a lot of them? Ole Miss has a different level of depth at the skill spots. And I know this isn't a nice way to put it, but they can be a little off in terms of their timing and their rhythm with the offense. But they've got enough playmakers. I'll just use Caden as an example. I remember him well from high school, where I don't think at all there's a chance that Mississippi State keeps them away from having a couple big, long games, maybe even for touchdowns. And that's the difference. I got Ole Miss in this game 34-20 and calling it early. Rebels by 2 touchdowns over the Dogs in Starkville. That's going to wrap it up for today's show here, Locked on Ole Miss. Thank you once again to all of you for stopping in. Please hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe to the Locked on Ole Miss podcast. Share it with your friends to get in front of more Ole Miss fans. It's fun for everybody. And if you would, give us a 5-star review on Apple and wherever you have a chance to rate this podcast. Everybody have a good one. This has been Locked on Ole Miss.